Hi everyone, I'm so excited today because I get to sit down with the beautiful Liz Harris from Innovim Group, and in this episode we are going to get to know Liz better and her story and why Innovim Group was actually created. So thank you so much, Liz. I'm so excited to have you here.
It is a delight to be.
Okay, so let's get into it. So tell me a little bit about your specific story, because you have a really interesting story in the law.
So I'm a third generation lawyer. I did have a hiccup along the way in that I did a couple of years medicine before I started law, sort of thinking that I would break from the family tradition.
Okay.
But
a rebel.
A rebel, but then, my father would say I saw the light and came back to it. And I should say both of my parents are lawyers as well. But my grandfather founded a firm in Ballarat back in the late 1920s.
Wow.
And my dad joined the firm. My mother was there. My dad was very brave. He joined a firm with three of his brothers-in-law. And so you can understand why I sort of thought, well, we'll see if we vary from this, but I came back to it.
And is it true, I heard that you would sit were you sitting in the firm, you'd sit underneath the desk at the law firm when you were very little, is that right?
Sometimes.
So it was in your blood, you were meant to.
What was more was all the barristers would come on circuit and they would come and have dinner with mum and dad, and they'd be very raucous evenings, and that seemed to be very attractive actually, really.
I love it. So skip forward, and you actually started your own firm as well in the early 90s.
I worked in commercial litigation and was the first at the firm I was at to be married, the first to have a baby, and the firm tried really hard, but and they offered me part-time work, but really 3 days a week was simply 3 days in the office and 2 days at home with a baby sitting on my knee whilst I was on the phone trying to do things. So I really felt I wanted some part-time work. I wanted work that was actually going to enable me to bring up a family, and I went to a recruiter who said, terribly sorry, there's no such thing as job sharing in litigation. That was the late 80s.
Yes.
But it was Marlabs, and Marlabs had a costing, and so I joined them, intending that I'd stay for a little while and then I'd go back into proper law, as we called it at that time.
Yes.
And then in the early 90s, I set up my own cost law firm. And I look back, and it's quite interesting because I look at new law firms now, and I think, well, I employed mainly women. I had one male who in fact was broadly the one responsible for childcare. And I suppose the benefit for the women I employed was that it was flexible working hours. They generally worked at home in their own time, in their own hours, and could pick and choose the amount of work that they wanted to do.
Yes.
So we, to all intents and purposes, had a virtual law practice.
I love it. So is this an exclusive? We've just found Australia's very first new law firm.
I'm prepared to lay claim to that. Can I say?
I love
all of those things everyone now thinks
because
is
all those elements are exactly what a new law firm's about.
Absolutely.
And you were doing it on instinct.
Absolutely.
It was just because that was the way it was.
It worked for me, so it worked for others as well.
Amazing. So now skip forward, because Harris is still going. Harris
is still going, really, with me. I do expert witness work. So
yes. So it's still
is interesting.
And then Innovim Group. Yeah. So talk me through Innovim Group.
So that's really my passion now. Yes. What I was doing with Harris Cost Lawyers, a lot of what I was doing was dealing with disputes between lawyers and clients.
Yeah.
So looking back on it, back again in the early 90s, I decided there was a different way of pricing.
Yes.
That this billable hour model really wasn't working for either lawyers or clients, but particularly for clients.
Yes.
So I actually approached a number of law firms about whether they would change their pricing, and there wasn't a great deal of enthusiasm at that stage. And I then started working with clients. And in-house counsel, again, not a huge amount of enthusiasm, but procurement were interested in what I had to offer. So it's my interest in different models stems from there, and along the way I met my now colleague, John Chisholm,
Yes.
who many people will know as absolutely passionate.
Death to the billable hour. Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And John had worked with my other partner, David Wells at Moores Legal,
Yes.
in helping them transform to a solely value pricing practice.
Absolutely.
And so the three of us, had done lots of things together over the time. So back in about 2017, we started talking about, well, how do we help others do this? So we launched 18 months ago.
Amazing.
Amazing.
And it's the absolute dream team, and what a wealth of knowledge that you bring. You're really kind of shaking it up in terms of helping people that are interested, or lawyers interested in going into this area, but also perfecting it and doing those sorts of things. Now, just before we end, I did want to touch on, because I know you and I have spoken before, and you did mention that you were working back in the early 1980s for one of the first firms that probably had the billable units and were going along that way. I think a lot of lawyers out there, particularly of my generation down, we were basically raised in the law thinking that billable units, billable hours, that was the way it's always been, and that's the way it always is. And so we don't know another way. But you were there at the beginning.
Well, my grandfather and my father, for most of his working life, didn't price their services that way.
Yes.
Grandfather worked, with wealthy farmers who paid a different price because that reflected value to them, to the poor farmers, for pretty much the same services. The billable hour came in largely out of management consulting and time management in consulting in America in the 1960s. Came to Australia in sort of the very late 1970s, early 80s, and when I started practice, the firm I was with had not long introduced it, and it wasn't a billing tool.
No.
It was a performance management tool.
Yes.
It was just tracking how people were working, and it was a very different attitude to it, in that it would be more along the lines of, do you need some help? Have you got enough work on your plate?
Yes.
Can we help you work more effectively,
more efficiently. It's an internal system.
Exactly. But sadly, it then very quickly translated into, this is an easy way of billing for our work. And our problem is, for both lawyer and client, it doesn't reflect value.
No.
So, if I, because of my experience, can provide a solution to you in 5 minutes, Karen, as opposed to someone who doesn't have that experience and they take 4 hours, then I'm not being paid for the value I've delivered.
Absolutely not, no. And we will delve a little bit more into actually what's involved with the pricing and the Innovim Group workshops. But Liz, it is such a pleasure. I think you have such a gift to give, particularly to the lawyers that are coming up and think that this is the way it's been done. We are a bit of an industry in crisis. We need to have a re-education around our value, how we see ourselves, and absolutely you were front and centre with that, and with Innovim Group too. So thank you so much. If you would like to understand more about Innovim Group and the workshops and get to know Liz better too, you can actually head to our website at legallyyours.com.au, and you can actually find Innovim Group at www.innovim.com.au. Thank you so much, Liz, for joining us.
Thanks, Karen.
Thank you.